Give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet River sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Well, welcome aboard, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is Wednesday, the 30th of April. Really calm tempo for the intro. I think I put the wrong intro in, Nigel, for today.
I was just about to think we were going to get into like some kind of really hyper mood and sort of like going back to like the 80s rave scene or some kind of acid house kind of stuff. You put on some sort of like, I don't know, a bit of Simon and Garfunkel, I suppose, there. But I mean, that intro was almost as boring as the Arsenal match last night. That's how boring that was. Like that, honestly, I thought I was going to sleep. I was going to sleep there. It was, but anyway, good to see you, Steve. How are you, mate?
Yeah, great to see you, Nigel. And you're right. That match last night, I just couldn't get into it. There was no rhythm. The intensity wasn't there. I mean, I was a bit surprised, not by that there was only one goal in the game. That happens quite a lot in semi-finals. But it's just the way that it was almost as if Arsenal were not happy to lose 1-0. They were really afraid of getting blown out of the water and being completely out of the tie. I mean, what's your take from last night? I mean, I know you said off air you cashed with the under there, but I thought it was a really poor game. Really.
Well, I watched the show that you did yesterday, and I bet two bets that you suggested. I bet under 2.5 goals, and I bet the over 10 corners. 10 corners. And when the early goal went in, I thought we might have a chance of the 10 corners, because I thought that then Arsenal would have to throw everything at them and try to break them down and get a goal, salvage the tie. But it was like that after 3 minutes, the goal just took the whole sucker punch, not out of the air. You know, it just lost everything from not only from the Arsenal team, but from the Arsenal fan base. And they had their sort of time just before the goal was disallowed, didn't they? They got right back into it. That took 5 minutes to decide whether it was onside or offside. And then the match then took a little bit of a problem and get a little bit of time to get going again. Arsenal got in the opportunities. The goalkeeper, Donnarumma, played exceptionally well, pulled off 2 or 3 good saves. But the last 20 minutes, it was like there was nothing there. There was no atmosphere. This is a Champions League semi-final. You know, this is only the second time that Arsenal will ever get to a Champions League final if they can get somebody's tie. And it was like, it was dead. And, you know, I don't know if there was expectation from Arsenal after the Real Madrid match. Everyone expected them to just go there and win really easy and go past the Paris Saint-Germain side that have struggled the week before. You know, they lost against Nice and struggled against Aston Villa, and they thought we'd be able to do it. But the complacency, and it was just, there was nothing, absolutely nothing. And that was a real big shock for me. So I don't think it'll be like this tonight, though. I think there'll be a little bit of a more different atmosphere against two huge juggernauts of European football going head to head. But I think last night was really disappointed. You know, it was a it was a poor night really from Arsenal. They didn't turn up, and they've got to turn up at the over at the Parc des Princes, and they've got to win. And they're only 245 to win, plus 245 to win, which I was surprised. Last night I was chatting to my friends. I thought they'd be about plus 350. They're plus 245 to win, and if they win, then they've got a good chance of making Champions League finals, and they know what they've got to do.
Yeah, I've got to say the corners disappointed me. The match just didn't pan out in that way. There was a lack of shots, intensity, everything like that. You know, well done to anyone who did. There was quite a few on here yesterday who did back PSG on the handicap, who did back under 2.5 goals. But welcome into Diski, Byron's AT, Snook Slayer, Mark Mint SC. Good to see you. I think it's a new name on Betting Weekly Live. Anyway, I think I might have seen you in the tennis live channel actually sometimes. Tobias Depler. I know he was very excited about the match yesterday, but it was a bit flat, wasn't it, Tobias? Welcome in, everyone. Put down your best bets today for the second semi-final between Inter, who travel to Barcelona. And before we go into that game, let's just remind people this is the draw bracket. Arsenal PSG will face Inter or Barcelona in the final in Munich. I do believe be heading out there, Nigel, in a month or so's time. And PSG are the favourites now, plus 125 to win the Champions League. Barcelona plus 200. Arsenal as big as 6-1. Would you have a nibble on the Gunners there or not?
No. I think if you think Arsenal will recover from their 1-0 deficit. You're much better off to bet them to win the match at plus 245. And when they could win the match and still not qualify, you're much, much better. And then obviously in the final, I think whoever Arsenal play, I think, well, definitely Barcelona to be underdogs against Inter Milan. I think it'd probably be a 50-50 call. Yeah, I wouldn't bet Arsenal to win the Champions League. And at this time of the stage, I mean, there's no value on the Champions League in this market whatsoever. But if you do think Arsenal are going to, you think Arsenal can turn that tie around, you're much better off to bet them to win the second leg. And I was surprised by the price. I said 245. I thought with Bet Rivers was a little bit too short. Plus 106, Paris Saint-Germain. I know they haven't got to win the match, but I think if the more that Arsenal throw themselves forward in one-on-one situations and Paris Saint-Germain on the counter-attack, I think they'll score against this Arsenal side. I saw that, last night there was a couple of times where they broke away and Trossard was left for dead, had to do some clinical fouls. So they looked one step quicker in every department in pace and everything. But we do know Paris Saint-Germain over history and time have been a side that have sort of bottled it on big occasions before. I'm not quite sure whether this current version will do, but I think that's what Arsenal fans are clinging to. Very good point there that Byron mentioned as well. No, they missed Partey last night. It was a huge
massive loss.
Massive. And obviously they're going to have him back, so that enhances their chances there for the second leg. But he was a big blow for them, and that allows Moreno to push forward a little bit more. And we saw him go forward. He scored the goal. So, no, I think if you're an Arsenal fan or you're someone who hopes that Arsenal are going to win this competition, I don't think you should bet them at 6-1. I think you should bet them at plus 245 to win the match, and hopefully you can get through. Even if they win the match, you might not be. If they beat an extra time, you collect. And then if they get to the final, bet them again, because I think you'll get a bit better price than what you're getting for them currently to win the competition at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. If you do like Arsenal, that would be the much better angle, a safer angle for you to get on. You could win that bet and they still get knocked out on the night, sort of thing. So, I would say that's very, very wise. The second semi-final then, we got Barcelona against Inter Milan, minus 159 favourites Barcelona to win the second leg with Bet Rivers. Inter Milan are the dog here. I mean, in the to qualify market, plus 165 for Inter in general. We've got a really quite a high goal line for a semi-final for this game, I must say. Over 2.5 goals is minus 177. That does seem unusually high for a semi-final. Barcelona have been involved in a lot of high-scoring contests this season, though the tie's at plus 310. If Dan Roberts got any money left, he'll be on that tie again. Yet another no draw yesterday. How do you see? What's your general feeling about this game? Barcelona, Inter on the main markets, Nigel?
Well, I think, as I've said on many times we come on this show, when we're actually spending 25, 30 minutes talking about one of these particular matches, there isn't really much value in the markets. We all have an opinion on it. We can all go out and have an opinion, place a bet. But really, when you're breaking down a huge amount of value, it's like anything. When you get to semi-finals, quarterfinals, finals, I'm a big tennis guy. When it gets to the final and it's Novak Djokovic against Roger Federer or it's Yannick Sinner against Carlos Alcaraz, they're very, very hard to find any value. And we know what these two sides are about throughout their run through. We can look at historic data, we can look at current data, we can look at various different things. I mean, on the money line, Barcelona are obviously minus 159, Inter plus 410. The draw is plus 310, which on paper, the draw does look a big price at plus 310. It looks a massive price, but we know that there hasn't been any draws in the Champions League so far this season. The one thing I do like, my first angle of attack is obviously in any semi-final or any big match. And it's going back to the tried and tested. And I think the under 2.75 goals here is a very, very big price. Under 2.75 goals here is around about even money. It's like minus 104. 2.75 goals. Under 3 goals is minus 117. So exactly 3 would be a push. I've got to go to that straight away. That's the first area I've got to go. We do know how strong Barcelona are in this competition. They're averaging 3.1 goals per game. But we do know that Inter Milan have got the best record of clean sheets, 8 clean sheets in this competition so far, bidding for history. If they get a clean sheet tonight, they go along with the best record in the Champions League of 9 clean sheets. So this is like a huge attacking flair of Barcelona against this real strong Inter defence. And I think when you've got those sort of sides, and it's a semi-final, I think the first 15, 20 minutes will be quite cautious. That's what to expect. I think 3 goals at minus 117 in a semi-final is a very, very, very big price. We saw yesterday, in a game we bet unders, goal goes in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. You would expect then the under bettors to struggle. Never really materialised. And I have a sneaky feeling here that under 3 goals here at -117 with a push that's definitely my first pick of the night. And to have, we know that Barcelona have all the threats, they have all the goal scoring ability, but without Lewandowski, I mean that is that takes
how much is Lewandowski worth, do you think, in terms of the goal market? I mean, that's a huge absence.
Well, I mean,
huge.
He's been absolutely incredible this season. Top goal scorer in La Liga. I mean, he's got to be worth about 0.2, 0.3 of a goal, I suppose. I mean, I'm not 100% of a data analytical guy, but I would say that he would probably be about a 40% chance to score tonight, maybe higher, 45% chance to score tonight. So if without that, that's a huge threat that they're going to have, and you can still get 3 goals. So you're saying, that would be, probably about a 3.25 goal game with him in. I think that's a big player to miss in such a big match like this. So if you're betting overs and you got in Barcelona matches and Lewandowski isn't featuring, I think he's got 28 goals this season, something like that. You took those goals away from him. Even though they're averaging 3.11 per match. But without Lewandowski's input, I would imagine that would come down to about 2.6, 2.5 across that period of time. So my first way I'm looking at here, I have no real opinion on the money line, but I think the 3 goals at a push would be exactly 3. I think you gave a good stat yesterday on the show. I was watching the show yesterday. You gave a good stat yesterday. How many in Champions League semi-finals, first legs, overtime have gone over 3? There's hardly any.
Yeah. In the last 9 years, just 3 matches in the semi-final first legs have gone over 3.5 goals. That even includes the COVID year. Those were legs on their own, but I think they were 2 times 3-0. So the chances of actually losing, going under 3 Asian goals based on that, is, the percentages are really in your favour. And I've got under 3 goals Asian written down here. I said it yesterday on the show, and I was thinking, can Nigel talk me out of it? Because I've been burnt on Barca unders before this season, but you've got to go with. Well,
there are. If I'm going to talk you out of it, let me tell you a few stats that will counter that. And obviously, a lot of people in the group, if you've got an opinion, put your opinion in here. There's a lot of things here. If you look at that, you look at Barcelona this season. They've scored in their last 29 consecutive matches. The last time they never scored in a match was on the 15th of December. So every match this year, Barcelona have scored a goal. And we talk about Inter Milan being so strong defensively. They've conceded in their last 9 matches. And their whole season in the last month or so has completely imploded. So there is that counter argument for goals. So anyone who's looking at current form and data will look at those goals and say, well, Barcelona's scoring 15. But I don't think any computer system or any analytical stuff will take into the situation of a Champions League semi-final first leg, the nerves of the players, the anticipation, the gameplay of the manager's tactical nous to the manager. I don't think you're going to get Hansi Flick playing the high line that he does here. I think he's going to be a little bit more cautious in his approach because he knows Inter are very, very strong defensively and they are dangerous on the counter-attack, as we've seen already in this competition. So you can make a case for current statistics and you can case for season form to go against that goals, but actually gameplay and actually Champions League semi-finals, that counteracts that fit as well. If you look at where both of these two teams stand currently in their domestic season, that also slightly, for me, brings in the idea of going under 2.5 goals. Both of them are involved in a huge title race. I know Barcelona are 4 points clear at the moment, but that's not over yet. Real Madrid can still get that. You're talking about a very good team who have got a very good running. But saying that, Barcelona at the weekend goes to relegated Valladolid, and they're -$9 to win that match. So they can go there they can throw everything at this match without even worrying about that. And Inter Milan obviously now are involved in a title race with Napoli, who again have got a favourable draw. But the idea that neither of them have got the season wrapped up again lends itself to under goals to me. I think they still think they've got a chance of winning their domestic title. I still think they've got to think about their team focus for the weekend, because if they get beat here, they still think they can't forgive any points. So I think that's important as well, and I think that helps the under case as well. So yeah, my first play, without a shadow of a doubt, here is under 3 goals at -117 on the Asian handicap with a push. I think that is a real nice bet.
I do agree. Yeah, I mean in terms of the Valladolid game, I think because we win 11 would beat them. They're that bad, so Barcelona don't need to worry.
I don't know about that. Big Steve Wyss up front.
Well, yeah, I was listening to your Premier League show and you put me up front. I used to be a goalkeeper actually, so I could do either or.
We'll have you. We'll put you in sticks, and if we need a goal in the last 5 minutes, we send you up front.
Just to state the obvious, I didn't actually touch on it. Lewandowski has been ruled out of the game for Barcelona. Also, their left back Alexandro Balde is ruled out. Benjamin Pavard is officially injured for Inter, but every other player did travel with the squad. There has been doubts over Marcus Thuram's appearance here in this match. Will he start? Won't he start? We know he's going to be fit to be at least on the bench. And the manager's got a choice between 3 defenders to replace Pavard. It's either going to be Jan Bissek, Darmian, or De Vrij.
Did you? I don't know if you saw that tweet that Dan Roebuck put out. Did you see the tweet he put out?
Yes.
About that? I don't know if you want to read it out, because that is really, really interesting, especially if we're talking about like a 2.5 goal game and the fact that, Dan Roebuck, he comes out of something very decent every now and again, and he's come out with something very interesting like for the Turan game, especially the over 2.5 goal stat he put out. I mean, if you want to read that, that's a really, really good tweet he's put out there.
I'm trying to find the tweet now. Actually, I'll get my notifications.
He said that with Thuram in this Inter Milan side, they start this season. They if you bet them blind, you make 0.09 points units. Without him, you make 8.58 points. So if you want to bet Inter Milan, Thuram is actually better without him. The overs with him, if you bet over 2.5, you would have won 8.97 units. Without him in the starting 11, you would have lost 37.92. Yeah. Have a read of
that is incredible, actually. So we don't. Well, I mean, as underback is we don't want him.
Yeah, if you underback
missing out, do we?
You don't want him. You're not missing out. You want him in that team. So, yeah. So that was very, very interesting. And the other interesting market in this match is, which without a doubt, is the booking market. Obviously, all the talks about the referee. The money line isn't quite interesting. I mean, when you've got these semi-finals and you've got these big matches, you have to go further down into the props. And obviously, Bet Rivers have got thousands and thousands of props, which makes it a little bit more easier for us to actually talk about bets rather than just having the money line here. But I mean, Turpin is the big talking point here. I mean, you mentioned last night about the referee being quite lenient in the match before, and that match last night could have really gone over the edge at one stage, couldn't it? There was 4 cards very quickly, and it could. And I think the second leg there will go completely crazy on the cards. But this one here is very, very interesting, because we know Clement Turpin is very, very lenient on the cards. I don't know what your thought process is on these cards markets here. He's got 3.5. It's a real pick and market. Under 3.5 is minus 117, and over 3.5 is minus 122. So that's quite an interesting sort of line there. It's solid, 100% solid.
I wanted to get on the overcards here, and then
I want to get on the overcard.
We have to wait to the second leg, I think, Nigel, because Turpin is one of those. This is a guy he's had several cardless games this season. I mean, he gave 1 card in Marseille PSG.
Well, the last 3 Champions League matches that he has officiated with Atletico Madrid against Real Madrid, so a feisty affair, 1 card. Man City, Real Madrid, no cards. Villa against Celtic, another feisty affair, no cards. So he's only given 1 card in those 3 high profile. But the one I take into it now, I always had a theory going back from when I was in my spread betting days and all these kind of markets as well, was whenever there was a Spanish or a Spanish team up against an Italian side, usually go back through history, look at the first legs in Spanish in semi-finals, they do get a bit feisty. The famous match where Mourinho ran down the pitch for Barcelona against Inter Milan, it was a real feisty one. Barcelona hasn't received a card. That's incredible. Barcelona haven't received a card at home this season in the Champions League. Well, that is incredible. But the last match he refereed in the Europa League was a Spanish against Italian match, Bilbao against Roma, and there was 6 yellow cards in 1 red card in that match. So that sort of made me think that 3.5. I suppose there's a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of markets here where you look at the average of Barcelona and you look at the average of Inter Milan, and I think you've got to just take them all with a little bit of a pinch of salt and apply some common sense to it, because there'd be a lot of times where they would have played at home where they've been very, very heavy favourites against some sort of Eastern Bloc sides, and especially in their La Liga form, they're very, very heavy favourites in some matches. But the one market another market I looked at here was the corners. And I know we went on the overs yesterday, but I was looking at unders here. I mean, the unders clearly cashed yesterday, clearly cashed. Barcelona at home this season, matches are averaged 10.41 corners. So a little bit over than the 9.5 line here. But you've got to remember, in those 10.41 to an average of 10.41, they would have played matches against probably 15, 16 times where they were at least -3, -4 favourites at home. So they had a lot of possession, a lot of the ball, dominating matches, and obviously that brings corners. So they scored a lot. They got a lot of corners, and their opponents didn't get any. Away from home for Inter, it's 9.12 corners. So if you average the two of them are out, it comes in around about 9.5. And Champions League semi-finals have moments where there's one team attacking, where corners come in, yellow cards come in, action comes in. But over a period of a 90-minute match, I don't really see many corners in this match. So again, I'm looking at under 9.5 corners at -105. I mean, I like shorting everything in European Cup semi-finals. You know, the playoffs are coming up in the English domestic league. I like to short everything in the first leg, goals, bookings. It's something I've done for ages. And if you did it yesterday, you know, I know there was the goals cup was one, but there was a couple of bookings. But pretty much 9 times out of 10 in first legs in Champions League football, if you short every market, you won't go far wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, Byron's mentioned there the shots market for Barcelona, and statistically, over 17.5. This is with Bet Rivers on a side market. Over 17.5 Barcelona shots would make a lot of sense here. If you just look at the record of shots, both Champions League and domestically, stuff like that. I mean, Inter conceded 20 shots twice against Bayern, for example. So I did look that as sort of my favourite prop market, but then I watched that match last night, and Champions League semi-finals can have periods where it just goes very tight, where there's quite a bit of fear on both sides. You know what I mean, Nigel?
Well, yesterday was the perfect match where you would have thought the overs want to come in, because the away team scores after 2 minutes. The home team, with 60,000 people behind, has to attack and go. And it never worked out to plan. I think this game's going to be a little bit more open because it's a classic attacking side against a defensive unit. And I think it will go to the way that we expect it. I mean, you know, Inter will try to defend and will defend for long periods of time. It's whether Barcelona can break them down. And however good Barcelona are, and they are exceptionally good, you know, this is still a pretty inexperienced side at this top level. I know Yamal has won the European Championships, and he's the next Ballon d'Or winner. He's a superstar. Rafinha was playing for Leeds a couple of seasons ago. I mean, but this is a big match for them, and they wouldn't have played in big matches like this. And I saw a lot of the Arsenal players yesterday freeze on the big occasion. Declan Rice didn't. I'm not comparing Declan Rice to Yamal and all this kind of stuff, but on the big occasion, they have. You know, these are players that haven't played in these kind of matches for them. So I'm not buying into this Barcelona runaway goals galore. Inter Milan have been exceptional. They've been to some very tough places this season, and they've grinded out clean sheets and done exceptionally well. So I'm going for that. There's a couple of other props I like in terms of an assist. I mean, you've got no pairing in the Champions League of contribute more goals this season than Rafinha and Yamal. And obviously, all the good things from an attacking sense come from them. Plus 280 each of those players to have an assist in the match. You know, if you fancy Barcelona to get a goal, I do expect Barcelona to score, but I'm not saying that combined there'd be more than 3 goals in the game. If someone said to me now, where would you think this match would be? I'd probably go a 1-0 Barcelona win or a 2-0 Barcelona win. That would be my way of thinking. So that might bring Rafinha and Yamal to get an assist. They're both 280. And obviously for Inter on the proven stage, the man they always go to for goals is Lautaro Martinez. Scored in the last 5 Champions League matches, bidding to become the first South American player to score in 6 Champions League successive matches since who? Do you know that was? Which? I'm
trying to think, actually. I should hopefully get it. Oh, man. It's on the tip of my tongue. Go on. Cavani. So he scored 6 consecutive matches in the Champions League. So now Lautaro Martinez, he's 230 to score at any time. And, you know, the amount of goals he scores, and he's so prolific for Inter Milan, if you think they're going to score, he would probably be the man to do it on a counter-attack. But I just got a feeling that Inter will be very, very happy if they come back from this as a 1-0 defeat and take them back. I'm saying they'll be ecstatic. I'm not saying, we're going to, they'll think that the game is still involved. So
I think that's interesting as well. I mean, Foxy's coming out of all the stats here. Flick, obviously, Flick, this team is averaging 3.1 goals in the Champions League at this period of time. The only team that averaged more in the Champions League this period of time was 3.2, and it was Flick's side in Bayern Munich. So we know what to expect. But I just think that this is going to be tight. I think this is going to be really tight. They've scored more goals in the Champions League than any other at this stage, more than any other Barcelona side as well. And since the 1999-2000 side with Messi and all those in it. So this is a semi-final big match. I'm all in on the unders. I'm sorry about it. Look, I've got stickily.
Yeah, that's a bit of a rough one there, Nigel. There was an interesting point about I think Foxy put it up, a couple of others as well, about the Dumfries against Martin match up there, right wing back against left back, and Dumfries to score or assist plus 400. Another player, there's been quite a few Inter players in the last 2-3 weeks who have had physical problems and injuries or little niggles, and Dumfries is one of them players. DiMarco, another. If they're in peak condition, that's a major asset for Inter. In terms of the betting splits for the game, we've got 88% of the money on the money line on Barcelona, 53% of the money on the over/under markets on the over. Not much in that really at all. How special for the game with Bet Rivers, a goal to be scored in the first 15 minutes plus 200 if you're interested in that for a quick fire start. 4 of the biggest 5 wagers yesterday on the soccer all lost. Wasn't a good day for the bettors yesterday, Nigel, with Bet Rivers on the PSG Arsenal game. Losers ranging from Arsenal money line to both teams to score, yes. Over 2.25 Asian goals, over 7.5 corners. I kind of feel responsible for that one. $6,000 on that. Someone did win on PSG minus a quarter of a goal, 10 grand. There's a big player prop bet on this game on Rafinha to score or give an assist. That is at minus 109, and that is a direction a lot of people will be looking. You mentioned Rafinha there as a possible option. We know Barcelona are going to have a lot of, they score a lot of goals. They have a lot of shots. There was a match against Mallorca recently. They had 40 shots. They only won 1-0. That sort of side, they will fire in quite a few shots. The goalkeeper might make a few saves. It's been 9 years since the last 0-0 in the first leg of a Champions League semi-final, Nigel.
Yeah, well, the 0-0 detector was thrown out the window.
15-1 for a 0-0.
I don't think it's going to be a 0-0. I think you've got to go. Barcelona. I said earlier, they scored in 29 consecutive matches, so the chances are they will concede consecutive matches. But I think Lewandowski does play is a big blow to them in that respect. Yamal and Rafinha will have to step up to the plate, and I think they'll have to do a lot of work for them. There's obviously some of the other creative players in their midfield. The list of who's who in the Barcelona side is fantastic. But there's so many good players. Pedri, Gavi, they're unbelievable. But I think here that those two have been superb in the Champions League this season. And the amount of goals they've assisted in to get plus 280. So, if you are a Barcelona supporter or Barcelona better, Rafinha and Yamal have to step up tonight. And I think the assist market would be. I think that Inter will come here to try to just keep it competitive for the second leg, defend, and try to hit them on the counter attack. I think that's the game plan. I watched the show yesterday and I agree with lots and lots and lots of things that Will White said, and he's a much more analytical football brain than I'll ever be. But one thing I disagree with him when he said that they may look at it as a positive that they're out of the competitions that they're involved in. He said that there was, the fact that they were out of the Italian Cup and the fact that they've got beat Roy and maybe the fact they focus on this competition. I'm not sure about that. I think you want to be winning football matches, whatever, and I think that's a huge disappointment for them. And I believe that could spill over there. The fact that they're losing and everything is on this match could go the opposite way. I believe that they'll throw everything in it, and that I would probably lean into more over 3.5 cards in the match because I believe that they'll be so psyched for this match and can't afford to lose it because this is their whole season. They're looking like they were going to get the treble a month ago. Everything is on the line in this match, but it's not on the line. It's on this match. It's on the line in this tie, and we've seen Italian clubs do this. Worse clubs than Inter Milan do come to these kind of matches over the years and get results, and they seem to know what they have to do at the business end of the competition. It's an old cliche, but they do. And I think Barcelona, even though they've got a very, very good record at home to Inter Milan, I think Played them 6 times, 5 in the knockout stages. 5 in 1 win. I think it was the only time they lost against them was in that time before in the famous match where he ran down the line, Jose Mourinho, but that was away from home. Got very good record against them at home. But I do feel tonight that this isn't going to be the goal scoring match that we anticipate. I always think when you have 2 people, a goal scoring team and a defensive minded side, I always want to be on the unders rather than the overs. You know, I just think that the one who's much more defensive, especially first leg, very defensive, will counteract the team that are more offensive. And to get 3 in the first one, that would be for me where I'll go.
This card, you know, the more I think about after last night, with Vincic being a very lenient ref, and it still went over the card line. Over 2.5 Inter cards is plus 140. That is
what is Inter to have more cards than Barca? That could be an interesting play because obviously I think Foxy said there on the
minus 125.
That is the bet. Now that is the bet. But Barcelona, you know, this is an Inter Milan side that everything on the line here. Barcelona are probably going to win La Liga. Inter Milan have got to win this tie. They're going to be pumped up. The Italians will be very, very difficult. You know, they're going to be very fired up. And if Barcelona haven't had a yellow card this season at home in the Champions League, as Foxy said there, which is a great stat, to get Inter Milan to get the most cards at minus 125, that is definitely the bet.
That actually does look a great bet. Minus 120. Well, you could win that with 1 card in the match.
Yeah.
That's very possible with this referee. He's interesting. I'm really interested how Turpin referees this game. He does have a history of red cards, Turpin, sometimes as well. I've mentioned it before. Let's see how that one goes. Paul, Kit Kat's just sunning himself at the minute. It's very warm here in the UK the last couple of days. He's kind of taking a betting break, I think. Maybe I should have. The warning signs were maybe on for that snooze fest last night. I'm sure he was on the unders. So sort of best bets from the game then. I mean, you really under 3 Asian goals actually main bet, Nigel. After I'm
going to go 3. I'm going to go under 3 goals. My main bet here, and that is minus 117 with Bet Rivers. I will go for definitely under 9.5 corners. I think the average of these two sides averages 9.5 corners, and then you know the matches they're playing week in and week out when they're very, very heavy favourites, both home and away, hasn't really factored that into a semi-final. And in semi-finals and first legs, the ball is in the middle of the park quite a lot. It's passing around. You know, Barcelona will keep a lot of possession. They'll probably do a lot of trying to, if they've got a 1-0, 2-0 lead, you know, they'll keep the ball. And Inter Milan, if they won, will try to keep the ball as well. So I think under 9.5 corners is another bet that I like here. And that price is minus 105 with Bet Rivers. And just that last prop, Inter, to get the most cards at minus 125. All 3 kind of nice bets. I mean, you might be able to put them into the same game parlay.
Yeah, good old same game parlay.
If you want to crack on and break down the next match, which I have absolutely nothing
we've
to
got
contribute
a match.
to.
Yeah,
I'll get you the same game parlay.
Yeah, we've got a match that's kicking off in about 25 minutes time in Norway. And this is Viking Stavanger against Haugesund. And Viking win actually will go top of the table. I think Bet Rivers are pretty well priced up on the game. We've got a very good team against a very, very poor one in Haugesund. They've only scored 1 goal all season. I do, similar to the Malmo game yesterday in Sweden, I think the best bet for the game is the handicap. It's a big handicap. It's minus 1.75 on the Asian at minus 137. But I'd be very surprised if Viking don't win the game by at least a 2-goal margin, probably more. This is, like I said, a very, very poor Haugesund side. And there's a goal scorer I really like in the game. He's not actually on there on the list. He should be on there, but it's Zlatko Tripic for Viking. He is the main man for them. He's on penalties, free kicks, everything. Plus 120 to score any time. Zlatko Tripic. And he is starting the game. This could be quite a big win, actually, really. The only thing is it is a slight local derby, a bit of rivalry here on the west coast of Norway, Nigel. But I'm expecting 3-0 to 4-0 win for the home side.
I wish you well. But my days of betting on Scandinavian football have long gone now. It's a beautiful sunny day. The Seeley barbecue will be out in the garden, and I will not be tuning, but I'll be watching the Champions League tonight. I tried to look at the same game parlay. I can't seem to get it working for some reason. But anyway, if I did drop my line there, under 3 goals on the Asian, under 9.5 corners, and Inter the most corners. And yeah, Steve is probably top 3 cappers. Well, I think he's top 1 capper when it comes to Norwegian League. Absolutely fantastic. But it's hard enough for me to get a bet on the Premier League, let alone the Norwegian League. So I think
I mean, there's some who probably cap better in the lower Norwegian leagues. I don't touch below the second tier really, but yeah, top league, I do enjoy it. I tell you why the SGP hasn't worked, Nigel. It's because Asian goal lines are not included in SGP.
Well, can we stick them into 3.5? Can we change
under
that?
3? So we're going under 3.5 goals. We're going to do this before we go. Under 3.5 goals.
Yeah, we go under 9.5 corners.
Yeah, under 9.5 corners.
And we'll go into to get the most cards.
Right, here we go. Under 9.5 corners. And then here we go on the cards. Most cards given for Inter. This is an SGP at plus 420.
Mate, who would have thought this? Steve Wyss, the worst SGP performer apart from me on the show. I haven't had one winning weekend. I think you've had one nice smash one. You were on the newsletter giving same game parlays. I'm on the Premier League, the Champions League show giving same game parlays. But I do think that's the way to go. I like to short everything. Under 3.5, under 9.5 corners, and Inter are going to be a little more volatile. Barcelona, Yamal's going to get kicked all over the place. You can imagine that. Rafinha going to get kicked. They're going to be diving all over the shop. The Inter rugged defenders and their players will be trying to mix them up. So, yeah, plus 420. I like that as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to your next SGP on the Premier League show, Nigel. I reckon it'll be a big one. 15, 20 to 1 territory.
We need to smash out of a losing position, so I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be.
I tried. I went 18 to 1 last weekend. Got half of what I needed in, but yeah, give me a good run for my money. Best of luck with those. Troy's put that on the comments there. Plus 420 for the SGP. And Rick the Brick, yeah, check back for the comments. There's often some really good comments, just like yesterday. I've not been able to go through all of them, but there's some really great discussions going on in the background there. Shakespeare's back with a pick as well. From yesterday, he had some beer money on this one, but it didn't quite happen for him. And someone asked a question there, can I recommend an Inter player to be carded? Well, if I had to pick one player, you've got to be looking at the midfield, I would say. And for me, Barella is the one I would choose to be carded. Not sure what odds he is, but he is definitely the most likely for me to get in the card book. The cards, the suspensions are wiped out, by the way, now. So the only way anyone's going to get suspended for the final is by getting red carded in the second leg, or a red tonight, and it's a horrific tackle or something that gets them out for 3 games. So players do have more of a license to get booked in the semi-finals, rules that UEFA brought in. Okay, well, that will do the show, Nigel. Enjoyed it, as ever.
Just one thing, but Barella's offensive stats this season have been unbelievable. He's averaged more progressive passes than any other player, 97.1. So anything that Inter Milan do, obviously he's a feisty character as well, but anything that good comes from usually comes from Barella. So maybe look at him for an assist market as well, stuff like that. But I think it's really difficult. It's the Champions League semi-final first leg, but the tried and tested formula when you get to this stage is always to play the unders. Always play the unders on the bookings. Always play the unders on the cards. Always play the unders on everything. And in the second leg, it's always the over. It's always different. But I just got a feeling here tonight it won't be that free-flowing match, because I think Inter will come in with some spoiling tactics, and I love that bet now. More I see it, that Inter Milan to get the most cards at minus 125. It's a brilliant stat from Foxy there to say that Barcelona haven't got. And then suddenly I thought, well, hang on a minute, if that's the case, then that's got to be the angle. So minus 125 Inter to get the most bookings. I think that sounds beautiful.
That is a very, very good bet. Coming up in about an hour and 20 minutes time, we've got Betting Weekly Tennis live, and that's going to be Mitch Michaels and Tim Dennis today, Nigel, on the show. And what do people need to do if they're new here around?
hit that subscribe button. Obviously, we've had a very good month. We're closing on to 9,000 subscribers. Our target has always been to get to sort of 10,000 subscribers as quickly as we possibly can, which allows us to do more of these shows. And also with 10,000 subscribers, it hits the algorithm for YouTube that basically puts his content more and maybe has to build a little bit quicker. So 10,000 is what we really want to achieve as quickly as we possibly can. Betting Weekly Tennis Live is going to be there today. Tim has been in fantastic form since he's been on. Kit Kat's back. She's got a little of an angle on.
Different cat. This is cricket.
Different. Oh, cricket. Okay.
Very shy cat. Not often seen on the show, Nigel.
I don't like cricket. Oh no. But we've got we've got the ATP and the WTA in Madrid will be live after, with also being play bets and also looking ahead to tomorrow's action as well. But Tim Dennis has been in great form since being on the show, and we just recorded before we come on here Betting Weekly game bet match with me and Sean Calvert as well. So the most important thing is, do you believe it? 40% of people who watch our shows do not subscribe to the channel.
I actually genuinely can't believe that at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. Wow. It doesn't take anything.
All they've got to do is hit that subscribe button and ring the bell and be notified of everything coming. Yeah. And there's some really exciting news coming next week. There's going to be new shows coming, which are going to be even more live shows, more sports covered, lots of things happening here at on the Betting Weekly studios. So make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, looking forward to that, Nigel. Thank you, everyone who joined us live or on demand. And I really appreciate you all. Some great comments and thoughts for the match. Best of luck, whatever you are taking in this semi-final second leg. And I'll be back tomorrow with Betting Weekly Live. James Eastham is going to be on the show. Europa League, Conference League. And I've already prepped him for the Premier League game as well. James will be giving some insights into Brentford against Nottingham Forest. So we look forward to that. Nigel, enjoyed it very much. Best of luck tonight with the SGP. And we'll see you, everyone. Remember to gamble responsibly. Catch you all tomorrow.